Hi everyone, I'm Trish Meyer. I'm the founder and managing attorney of Meyer Law, a law firm focused on helping entrepreneurs and technology companies. And I am here today with the ever so fabulous Joe Dwyer, partner at Digital Intent and Founder Equity. Thanks a lot for coming.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Sure. So tell me all about Founder Equity and Digital Intent.
Sure, well I think the simplest way to say it is that we do one thing. We're disruptive innovators. We create disruptive innovation businesses, but we do it two different ways. Digital Intent is the services arm. Existing companies can pay us to create new businesses for them that disrupt markets, create new markets or create new opportunities within existing ones. And then the other side of the business is Founder Equity, which is an early stage tech fund that invests in that same kind of business with the goal of selling them to the same customers. So sort of two sides of the same coin, and I tell you what, twice the fun.
So. Twice the chaos.
Twice the craziness, that's for sure. There's never a dull day at the office. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So with all of your success that you've had, what's one challenge that you've faced and how have you overcome it?
So I'd have to say that the one that comes first to mind is building a new fund. And I'm not saying just a new venture style fund, but it's a fund that's different. So anytime you raise a fund, a first fund, you've got a challenge. So we had to figure out how do we grow this fund and make it actually stand out and make it make sense. And so what we decided to do is what we usually do when we're faced with a big challenge, is to break it into smaller pieces. So we said, all right, so what's required for us to be successful with our model? Part of our model involves investing not just money but people. And because we think that, frankly, from my experience as a traditional venture capitalist, you give people money, a lot of times they then struggle to find the talent that's necessary to be successful. And so part of our big hypothesis is that we'll invest money and people, right? Solve the real problem, the real root problem. So we set out first to launch Digital Intent, which we launched in 2010. And we didn't launch the fund until 2013. And in those 3 years or so, we built the platform that enabled us to figure out how all this works. So it's a bigger challenge than we thought at the time to take really talented people who are very hard to find and then share them across projects, because the transactional costs of maintaining the knowledge and information and organizing everything increases rapidly as you change people in and out of projects. And so it took us a number of years to figure out how that process would work and how to maintain efficiency. And as we began to figure it out, we started getting feedback from our clients. So for example, when you hear from a Fortune 500 board, as we heard recently, that they were shocked at how much progress we made and how much value we created for them in such a short period of time, you've probably got it right. And so when we started hearing that sort of feedback, that's when we realized it was time to start risking our money and outside investor money as well on our fund. And so I think the lesson I take from that one is that most of the problems you're likely to face in early stage innovation tend to be problems of complexity and sort of integrated systems. And it's almost impossible to solve those all at once. And so instead, try to understand how the system works and then tackle the individual parts, which gives you a chance to learn and reassess how the system will work, and gives you a chance to actually move through in a successful way. And it's worked really well for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's one trait that you think you need to have in order to become a successful entrepreneur?
So I think that's a pretty easy one for me. So I teach at Kellogg, and one of the courses I teach is a course called Building Innovation Teams and Cultures, and it's about how to assemble teams of disruptive entrepreneurs and make them successful. And a book that I have everybody read in that class is called Mindset. It's by Carol Dweck. She is a Stanford researcher who is focused on this, I think, most of her career. Published this book in the 1980s. And basically she found that there's two different kinds of people out there in this context, and that is there are people who believe that there are fundamental capabilities such as empathy, intelligence, organizational skills, what have you, are essentially static. They don't tend to change over time. Either I'm smart or I'm stupid, or I'm organized or I'm disorganized. I'm an early riser, I'm a late riser. And then there are people with what's called a growth mindset who realize the fact is that those are almost all very mutable. You can change whether or not you're empathetic, smart, organized, whatever it is. And even more interesting is what that implies for how people respond to challenges and how they work together. People with a growth mindset tend to embrace challenge and to want to seek to fix things and to seek to test their abilities and the abilities of their companies. Whereas people with a fixed mindset tend to shy away from challenge and shy away from any sort of measurable outcomes because a poor outcome would reflect personally on them and who they are. So it's a really important distinction, and I think that it's very much worth reading that book. We literally hand them out. Anybody who comes in our office will just say, hey, would you like this book? It's that good. Short read, really worth it. So I guess I just have to say that having a growth mindset is probably the most important trait for an entrepreneur.
Awesome, and I'll have to check out that book.
It's an awesome book.
So what's one piece of advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs?
So I think one of the most important ones is to solve a problem that is really worth solving. So all too often I see really promising entrepreneurs going after businesses, and it feels from the outside a lot more like stubbornness than opportunity. You know, sometimes it seems so wonderful to find that idea that you have, that magical thing, and you're so sure that it's going to work. Well, the reality is most of those ideas won't work, and one of the most common reasons they won't work is because people are trying to solve a problem that doesn't actually exist, or it's not worth solving. And so one of my first pieces of advice generally is to say, all right, step back and look at your problem. What proof do you have that people are really prioritizing solving that problem? Why do they have it? You know, how is it that other people haven't solved it? And how are you actually going to address that problem? And if you do so, are you going to be able to capture some sort of value for doing so? It's surprising how often, if you really look carefully at your business, that you realize, you know what, I'm not sure either that this is a problem or that we're actually focused on solving the problem that is. It's pretty fundamental, and I think it's probably a pretty good place to start anytime you're considering whether or not you should be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, great advice. So where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Joe Dwyer, Joedwy, and you can also find us at my websites, digintent.com or founderequity.com.
Thanks for coming in today. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
All right, everybody, I'm Trish Meyer, again from Meyer Law. You can find out more about Meyer Law at meetmeyerlaw.com and more about Advisor TV at advisor.tv. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.